All right, so let's work on page 112 together here. So here we're working on triad shapes a little bit. And truth is, you already have been working on triad shapes just via your cadences. Nevertheless, let's take a look at what we have here. So if we take a look here, they're explaining essentially inversions of triads. So you can see that they've indicated figured base symbols here, figured base symbols, right? So the 5-3, also known as root position, and they're explaining why, because there's a third interval of a third between the base note and the next note, and then an interval of a fifth, which is where the figured base 5-3 comes from, and the same for the 6-3 figured base here, third and a sixth, which of course is the first inversion triad. And usually we notate that just as 6, since it's assumed that it's a 6-3. So let's try just playing that just as written here. So you have a C, E, G. And now you're going to play C, E, A. But notice the fingering is going to be 1, 2, 5. Like that. 1, 2, 5. Like that. You just feel that triad shape. That's like basically the same shape as you've been using for the 5 chord, since the 5 chord that you've been playing in the cadence is first inversion. So that's why the shape is the same. So now we have a little fun exercise. White keys only, we're going to play a sequence of 5-3 to 6-3 shapes. And this is ascending, all right? So let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to start on C, 5-3 shape, then first inversion, then starting on D, first inversion, then on E, first inversion. Okay, let's try this together. Here we go, starting on C. Ready? And root position, first inversion, D, root position, first inversion, E, root position, first inversion, F, root position, first inversion, G, root position, first inversion, A, root position, first inversion, B, root position, first inversion, and C. And what you'll notice is it actually sounds pretty decent. Okay? So if we actually analyze harmonically what's happening here, let's take a look. So let's say we're in C major, because we are. So one chord, if we have the same bass note, but it's first inversion, that means first inversion means the bass is actually A, right? So that means it's a 6 chord, a minor 6 chord like this. Then D, root position, is obviously going to be the 2 chord. First inversion of that, which means the root of the chord is actually going to be B, is a diminished 7. And then going to the minor 3 and then to the 1-6 and so forth. So when we're looking at this, it may look a bit confusing, but I have a little trick for you. Another way of thinking of this, okay? Intervallically. So, what's the distance between a 1 and a 6? Well, that's a third. It's a third, right? So we're descending a third. We're descending a third. And then we are ascending from 6 to 2. What is that? Well, that's a fourth, right? Then we're ascending a fourth. And that's what's happening each time. We're descending a third, up a fourth, down a third, up a fourth. When you go from one chord and move either ascending or descending by the interval of a third, that is what is known as a mediant relationship, a mediant relationship. Okay? So I have a nice theory on chord progressions. I like to break them down to just 3 types. You actually only have 3 types of chord progressions in music. You have the mediant relationship. You have the next one. Anytime you go up by a fourth or down by a fourth, that is a dominant relationship. And it's dominant because a fourth inverted is a fifth. A dominant relationship. Okay. A mediant also can be a sixth as well, right? Because if you ascend a sixth, that's the same as ascending a third. They're inversions. So check this out. Let me just show you real quick here. If you're starting on C, okay, look at all the notes that we can get to, all the roots that we can get to using just mediant and dominant relationships. Up a third is E, down a third is A. Up a fourth is F, down a fourth is G. Okay, so if I superimpose that up here, here's the G and the A. Just with those 2 relationships, we've covered every note within the octave except for B and D. Do you see that? So just with those 2 relationships, you can get from one chord to most of the other chords. That leaves B and D. Okay? And that is what we call, or what I call, adjacent relationships. Okay? Adjacent. You can also call them adjunct relationships, meaning that they're neighboring. So C can go up to D would be adjunct, down to B is adjunct or adjacent. So that's why this works. Down a third, mediant, dominant. Mediant, dominant, mediant, dominant, mediant, dominant. Okay? All right. And then you can also do that with the left hand. And then they have you do the sequence also in other keys. So we can try this in the key of G, for example. Let's try it. In the key of G major, F's are sharped. So that's the one thing you have to remember is anytime you have an F, you've got to make it sharp. Let's try this with the right hand. Here we go. Okay, G major, root position. Now first inversion. To A, root position. First inversion has an F sharp on top. B, root position, still has the F sharp on top. First inversion. C, root position. First inversion. D, root position, has an F sharp in the middle. First inversion still has the F sharp in the middle. E minor, root position. First inversion. Now F sharp, root position, has the F sharp on the bottom. First inversion, F sharp remains, and to G. So you can do this progression through any key so long as you abide by the key signature itself. Okay? So basically that's what that page is introducing you to, the concept of playing a sequence from root position to first inversion, ascending. You could also descend with it too.